In the vast wilderness of the Masai Mara, a lion was born, whose life would one day become legend. He was not the largest cub, nor the most feared predator at first glance, but he carried a mark that set him apart. On his ears, deep cuts and notches, carved by time and battles, gave him a name that echoed across the savannah. Notched at his birth around the year 2000, was shrouded in mystery. Some say he came from the Ridge Pride. Others believe he descended from lions, long forgotten. What is certain is that he entered a world ruled by power, violence, and survival. Every roar across the plains carried the weight of dominance, and only the strongest could rise to be king. From an early age, Notccch showed resilience. In a land where hyenas prowled and rival males waited to kill the young, he survived. Than that, he carried an aura, as if destiny had chosen him for something greater. The Masai Mara had seen kings before, mighty males who had conquered and fallen. But there was something about Notccch, the quiet strength in his eyes, the scars that shaped his ears, that promised a story unlike any other. As Notccch grew, he was no longer just a survivor. Strength filled his body, and courage shaped his steps. But in the Masai Mara, no lion rises alone. Alongside him stood a powerful ally, another young male who became known as Light Male. Together, they formed a bond of trust and ambition, a coalition ready to test the boundaries of their world. By 2004, confidence had swelled into daring. They turned their eyes toward the Marsh Pride, one of the most famous prides in the Mara, known worldwide through the BBC's Big Cat Diary. The Marsh Pride was not only large, with over 20 lions, but also well guarded by two formidable males, Simba and Scar. These were rulers with reputations of strength. Lions not easily challenged. Scar fell first, killed in a fight that left Simba ruling alone. It was then that Notccch and Light Male struck. The battle was brief but decisive. Simba fought with ferocity, but the two young challengers were stronger, fresher, and driven by hunger for power. In the end, Simba was forced to flee into the wilderness, never to be seen again. The Marsh Pride now belonged to Notccch and Light Male. For the first time, Notccch stood as king. His name carried not only by the wind, but by the lionesses who now accepted him as their ruler. He had tasted dominance, and with it came both glory and danger, for every victory in the Mara attracted. The eyes of rivals waiting for their chance to strike. The reign of Notccch and Light Male over the Marsh Pride was powerful, but short-lived. In the Mara, territory is never safe, and rivals are always watching. By 2005, other coalitions began to test their strength against the new rulers. It was during one of these battles that tragedy struck. Light Male, Notccch's brother-in-arms, fell while defending their territory. His death left Notccch alone, weakened and vulnerable. Then came the final challenge. Three rival males descended upon the Marsh Pride, and Notccch, exhausted from years of constant battles, could not stand against them. Outnumbered and wounded, he made a choice few lions would ever consider. Instead of fighting to the death, he retreated. He abandoned the pride, but not his purpose. In the chaos, he gathered his young sons, barely adolescents, still finding their strength, and led them into exile. For 2 long years, the Masai Mara did not see Notccch again. Researchers, photographers, and guides whispered that the mighty king had perished. They believed that no single male, burdened with young sons, could possibly survive the harsh wilderness without a pride. Too many, his story ended there, a fallen king whose flame had burned too brightly, too quickly. But Notccch was not finished. In the shadows of the Serengeti, he was not dying, he was preparing. He was raising his sons into warriors. The world thought him gone, but in truth, the legend of Notccch was only gathering its strength. In 2008, the Masai Mara witnessed a sight that would be remembered for generations. Out of the silence of 2 years, across the waters of the Mara River, came a lion not thought to be alive. At his side were 5 young males, each as large and strong as their father. Notccch had returned not alone, but as the leader of a coalition. An army unlike anything the Mara had seen before. The crossing itself became a symbol. Tourists and guides saw a line of lions moving with purpose, led by the scarred veteran whose ears bore the notches of his name. Behind him, his sons walked with the confidence of warriors. No longer fragile cubs, they were now powerful males. Sharpened by the trials of survival and exile, Notccch's plan was revealed in that moment. His exile had not been a defeat, but a strategy. He had sacrificed short-term power to ensure long-term dominance, instead of clinging to a single pride. He had built a force capable of taking many. When the coalition stepped back into the Mara, their presence was overwhelming. Prides that had once seemed secure now trembled. Rival males, even strong coalitions, hesitated to challenge a group of 6 massive lions working as one. The balance of power had shifted. Notccch was no longer just a king. He was a general, leading his sons into battle. Together, they moved from pride to pride, testing, fighting, and conquering. Each victory added to their legend. Ash! Each roar carried further across the plains. What began as a single lion's survival had transformed into the rise of the most feared coalition in the history of the Masai Mara. At the height of their reign, the Notccch coalition became an unstoppable force. 6 enormous males, Notccch and his 5 sons, swept across the Masai Mara like a storm. Their reach extended over 1,000 square kilometers, a vast empire in the Lion Kingdom. One by one, they claimed pride after pride until their control stretched across nearly half of the Mara out of 22 prides. 12 fell under their rule. The names of their conquered prides became part of their legend. The Magoro Pride, the Paradise Pride, the Hammerkop Pride, the Rongai Pride, and many more. Everywhere they went, their presence was undeniable. Lionesses submitted. Rival males fled or were killed. Cubs born of other fathers were eliminated. And in their place came new generations carrying the blood of Notccch. This dominance did not go unnoticed. The coalition's reign was captured in films and documentaries, including Disney's African Cats, released in 2010. The world watched as Notccch and his sons hunted buffalo, defended territories, and lived as symbols of power. Researchers called them one of the most impressive coalitions ever seen. Perhaps the most successful bloodline of a male lion in history, but power in the wild comes at a cost. Their reign was not only celebrated, it was feared. Other lions lived in terror, and rival coalitions were wiped out in brutal battles. The Notccch coalition brought death to dozens of males who dared to challenge them. Their roars echoed across the Savannah, a constant reminder that they were the apex of the Mara. For nearly a decade, they ruled as legends in the making. No coalition before them had reached such heights. Notccch, once thought dead, was now the father of an empire. His sons, raised in exile, had become the heavyweights of the Mara, and together, they forged a legacy of dominance that seemed unbreakable. Yet even the mightiest reign cannot last forever. Time, that silent predator, began. Too close in on Notccch and his sons, the first great wound came with the disappearance of Long, the largest and most powerful of Notccch's sons. After a fierce fight during the takeover of the Hammerkop Pride, Long was injured. For days, Notccch called out for him, his roars echoing across the plains. But Long never returned. His fate remained a mystery, a shadow in the coalition's story. Notccch himself was aging. At more than 13 years old, he was far past the prime of a male lion. His once mighty body carried scars and stiffness, reminders of the countless battles he had fought. He grew quieter, less defiant. and his roars, once thunderous, became rare. Even his own sons, now powerful in their own right, began to challenge him. Young lions, driven by instinct and competition, sought to assert dominance over their aging father. On more than one occasion, they turned on him, beating him down when he tried to claim mating rights. The empire still stood, but cracks were forming. The coalition that had once been untouchable now felt the weight of loss, age, and betrayal. The golden age of Notccch was fading. In the end, Notccch's story closed not with a clear battle, but with mystery. Around 2013, the old lion vanished from the eyes of researchers and tourists. No one saw him fall. No one witnessed his last roar. Some believed he died of old age, weakened by mange, a disease that slowly erodes a lion's strength. Others whispered that he was ambushed by rivals, perhaps the hammer-caught males he had once defeated, now taking their revenge. There were even those who imagined he wandered into solitude, seeking the ghost of his lost son long and never returned. What remained certain was that the legendary king was gone, his end shrouded in uncertainty, only added to his myth. By disappearing into silence, Notccch became larger than life, a figure half real and half legend, the lion whose reign defined an era of the Mara. Though Notccch was gone, his legacy remained etched into the very fabric of the Masai Mara. His sons carried his bloodline across the plains, spreading his lineage into countless prides. Even after their own battles and deaths, the descendants of Notccch roamed the savannah, living proof of his unmatched reign. Two researchers became the symbol of resilience and power. To storytellers and filmmakers, he was the Lion King of the Mara, a legend who blurred the line between history and myth. And to the world, Notccch endures as a reminder that even in nature, greatness leaves an everlasting echo. Asterisk, if you're enjoying the story, hit the like button and leave a comment sharing what has impressed you the most so far. Your support helps this content reach more people who love wildlife.